It's really wonderful to be on this platform, and thank you PMI for giving me this opportunity to speak about some of the realities that I have created for myself and crafted a life that I am living today. Um, and the topic, as you can see, is life crafting. So I do a fun activity every few days, and that is Googling my name. I don't know if any of you do it, but when I did this yesterday, this is what came up. Of course, you know, Neeraja Ganesh, when you Google, it gives you 5-6 pages of stuff. And after that, it goes on to some other Neeraja and Ganesh and all of that. But the top, I just, you know, out of curiosity, picked up the top. So on LinkedIn, it said Neeraja is a person who displays strong leadership and motivational skills across teams. Then I am an author on this online publishing portal called as Women's Web. Of course, it called me out as an author at Women's Web for women who do. Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the USA called out saying Neeraja Ganesh decided to switch her career to work in the space of gender diversity after having mentored women from diverse experiences and age groups. I have been a jury member on their Global Innovation Challenge for a couple of years, and that's where this comes from. This organization called Clearly Blue did an interview with me a couple of years ago, and hence they call me as a veteran from the software industry who now heads Inc., a joint initiative between Jobs for Her Foundation and Inc. Of course, it is dated because they did it a couple of years ago. There is this online portal called as Bhogya, hosted by this lady in Germany who did a podcast recording with me. And of course, that is more current, and hence it says, you know, it gives my current title. She, the People, the Women's channel covered me during one of the mentoring sessions that I was doing for Jobs for Her, and they called me out as the technical director from Capgemini. This is also dated. So who is Neeraja? So my CV in September 2017 looked like this. I'm sure this CV is so familiar to many of you. Senior executive, leader, and strategist with close to 25 years of rich and insightful experience in the IT software industry. And it has all those adjectives around delivery management and risk management, anything that a project management professional would have. This is how my current CV looks. While it does talk about my current role, which is the National Education Society of Karnataka, it also talks about me being a freelance consultant who conducts various training programs and workshops on leadership and behaviors. I'm a thought leader associated with reputed training organizations. I coach people to progress in their careers. And almost like in the passing, there's a statement which says, prior to this role, my professional experience of 25 years has been in the information technology industry, and I manage large teams, delivery of IT projects, etc. So I thought I would spend some time today to talk about how I crafted my life and created this new reality for myself, and talk about some of the principles that I adopted. These are not going to be new for you because I'm sure some of you would be using one or more of these in your own lives, in your own careers, in your leadership space, in your projects. But I thought let's just reinforce some of them. The first one being your priorities. So I'm absolutely clear about what my priorities in my life are. Now, though it sounds very simple and people might say, you know, all of us are very clear about our priorities. In my experience, I think it's not that simple. So in September 2015, I quit is what I was trying to tell you, right? That CV that you saw from my corporate career. In the month of May that year, my mother was, undergoing some checkups, medical checkups. I was in a role at Capgemini, which used to take me to Pune every other month because the account that I was managing was spread across Pune and Bangalore. And I think there will be some people from that organization actually listening into me today. And when these checkups were happening, I felt the need to be around her. And so I went and spoke to my business unit head to say that I will not be able to travel like the way I've been traveling. People who know me, who were around in the organization at that point in time, told me that this is an extremely career limiting move. You can't go and say things like that. But I said, no, My priority at that point in time was my mother. We didn't know what she was going through. We were just still, diagnosing it. But I knew that I had to be around her and I couldn't do this travel. So I actually came out of that project. And I told the organization that my next project should be one which doesn't have travel because I would like to be in Bangalore. My mother had to undergo a surgery in May, and she was told to be on bed rest for 6 weeks post the surgery. I'm an only child, and my father's passed away many years ago. So I told her to come and stay with me. I live in Bangalore. My mother also lives in Bangalore. And you know how mothers of daughters are. They find it extremely hard to come and live with their daughters, especially when you're living in a joint family. I have my in-laws also living with me. So I told her that I'm going to take 6 weeks off, the time when she needed to take rest. I will be with her at home so she doesn't have to feel awkward that she's coming in and living in my house and know somebody else is taking care of her. 6 weeks, she recovered. And as she went back home, my husband fell extremely ill. And during those 6 weeks, I was exploring opportunities in the organization which would not have any travel. So I had clearly mandated that. My husband fell ill with a very severe viral. He was not even able to sit up. So I extended my leave because I needed to care for him. And in a few weeks, as he was recovering, my father-in-law, who was 96 then, fell ill. And in a few days, my father-in-law passed away. So I extended my leave further because there were rituals after his death for about 2 weeks. So the 6 weeks of leave actually went to 3 months. And now I was even more clearer that the role that I pick up has to be something which will station me in Bangalore, because not only my mother, it was also my mother-in-law who just gone through this bereavement, will need me around. And I had that conversation with my organization, and the organization said that we've given you almost 3 months of leave. We cannot extend your leave anymore. And it doesn't look like, at the seniority level that you are, there could be any assignments which will not have any travel. So they asked me to get back and pick up whatever was available. But I was very clear about my priorities. And I said that I will leave. People have asked me, was it an easy decision? And I said that it was an easy decision only because decision making becomes very, very easy when you're very clear about your priorities. In this case, I knew that my mother, my mother-in-law, my family really needed me at that point in time. So the decision to leave the organization, if I don't get the kind of job that I wished for, I was very clear about that, and it was easy. What also made it easier is that I was associated with this organization called Jobs for Her for a couple of years prior. I am a mentor on their portal. It's an organization that helps women on a career break restart their careers. And I've been talking to all these women who are much, much younger than me and who had to take breaks from their careers. And I used to mentor them to say it was okay to take the break at that point in time in their life and how they should restart. And I felt I was blessed that I could continue working nonstop for 25 years. The only break that I took was when I had my daughter, the small maternity leave that I took. And I thought to myself, I must practice some of the stuff that I preach to these women. The other reason why the decision was so much more easier was because I knew that there was enough to do. If I were to keep money aside, which is important, I'm not denying that, but if money is not the only criteria, there's enough and more that all of us can do in our country in terms of volunteering, in terms of helping. And, I knew I could keep myself productively utilized and keep my sanity. So I chose to quit. Now, what happened in those 3 months when I was on the break? The first 6 weeks, right? I didn't know I would go away for 3 months. It was only 6 weeks. But even in those 6 weeks, I told my mother that I will care for her, I used to step out of the house every day for a couple of hours. I went to Jobs for Her and I told them that I would like to volunteer my time now that I have some time available. And they were coming up with their first flagship event called Restart Her for women on a career break. And they said, would I be able to help them out with that? And I said, of course, why not? There was another organization called Pensar. It's a startup run by Deepa Bachu, who I know well. And they were going to run a design thinking conclave in a few weeks. And she asked me if I would come and moderate the sessions at the conclave. Now, I had no clue what design thinking was then. So I had to actually be, visiting her office to learn what they were going to do and how they were going to conduct the conclave so that I could moderate the sessions. And the third thing I did was meet a lot of people, because somewhere in my head, I felt maybe what if I do not get a role, which was located only in Bangalore and did not have any travel. I knew that I would leave. Then what would I do? Because I did not want to get back into another corporate space because the challenges would be similar. So after 25 years, one doesn't know how one can start off on their own if that is what you want to do. How do you consult as a freelancer, etc. So I said, let me meet as many people as I can who've been on this journey. So I'd connected with people over LinkedIn. I had met them at earlier conferences. I started, sending out invites to them and requesting if they would meet with me. And every day I would meet up with someone to understand their journey. And what is it that I would need to do if I wanted to start off something on my own, or if I wanted to collaborate with those people as a consultant. And that's why I put the point there saying, keep moving. Now imagine if in the first 6 weeks when I'd taken leave, I had not stepped out of the house, because it's a time when I could have relaxed. I'd never ever taken a break of this, a length. And I could have said, okay, let me relax, just looked after my mother and, chill. But the 6 weeks became 3 months. It would have been so much more harder for me to do all of this after my father-in-law had passed away, because then, you will start feeling the guilt. Hey, with such a tragedy at home and everyone is grieving, are you going to go and meet someone out on a coffee and ask, how do I collaborate? Are you going to go out and volunteer? People at home will also have those thoughts, right? I mean, if it's a job, that's a different thing. But these are things that you don't usually do, when the situation at home is not so good. And hence, I really, really emphasize that keep moving on a daily basis. However small it might be, you may not necessarily know in what direction it is going to take you to. What's in it for me? That's the question that you may not necessarily be getting an answer to. But if there is something that you can do today, do it today, because the time is now. Even if you're able to move by an inch, by a centimeter, by a millimeter, do move. Because what it did to me was, when I quit from Capgemini in September, Deepa Bachu, who was, I told you, the startup founder of Pensar, she was trying to help me get back into corporate, into one of the product companies. And she was trying to look at my CV and say, it is very service kind of, language. Let's try to make it more product kind of language. And she asked me, so what are you doing now, Neeraja, given that, you've already exited the company? And I said, I'm meeting these people with whom I'm thinking of collaborating. And she said, why not collaborate with us? And I said, I didn't think I would be a fit, in your organization, because the kind of skills that I have don't necessarily match what you do. And she said, that's okay, but you bring different kinds of skills, which I'm sure are going to be useful for us. And that's how I got my first consulting assignment with Pensar. But I told her that, I will want to continue to look out, because I really don't know what I'm after. So I signed up for a 4-hour part-time kind of an assignment, for 6 months. This was in November 2017. And in December 2017, Neha Bagaria, the founder of Jobs for Her, was talking to me saying that she's going to start a not-for-profit foundation the following month. And would I head that? And I asked Neha, why do you even look at me for this role? Because I have 25 years of corporate experience, nothing to do with NGOs. And she said, Neeraja, one is that you have the passion for this cause, which everyone knows. But she saw me volunteering at Jobs for Her, and the way I was, conducting myself, the way I was managing the teams and collaborating with stakeholders, etc. And she said, I knew you're the person for this role. Doesn't matter if you don't have NGO experience. That is something that, you can always learn. But these are the basic things that I want in the person who's going to head the foundation. And that's why I want you in this role. So with that small move that I did, I managed to land these 2 opportunities, which were never advertised. And if you look at the kind of experience I had, I don't think I would have ever, gotten it if I had to apply and get it. The next thing that I want to focus on is learning. And while I'm talking about these principles as principles for life, careers, leadership, I'm sure these principles also are very, very, will work wonders in the projects that you actually execute. Learning is absolutely important, and I'm sure with the pandemic all of us have, definitely, I don't even need to specify and emphasize on this. But what am I talking about learning? When I went to the Jobs for Her Foundation, of course, the foundation was a one-woman show. Being an NGO, we couldn't hire anybody else. So it was only me who was running the entire show. But I used to go and sit in the Jobs for Her office, which was the for-profit organization, with everybody else. And I used to get some little bit of support from that organization. I had to really unlearn everything of a corporate life, almost, and I'm saying this on this platform, I had to throw away all my project management, principles outside, because it was almost like a startup world. And with due respect to all the startups, in here in our country, in the beginning, when you're still trying to find your feet, you're still agile, don't know what you are into, you really on a daily basis are going to the drawing board again and again and again. So it was a situation like that for me. And there was a lot of unlearning that I had to do and a lot of learning that I had to do, starting from, so I used to even do content. I used to do social media for them. I used to do digital marketing. I would do, managing partners, finding partners and managing these partners, finding community members, organizing events for them, doing newsletters, things which you would never do after at 25 years of experience being called director in an organization. You just had to make a phone call and things would get done for you. I was sitting and doing that. And all these people in the company were youngsters, right? There was this girl, 24 something, who came, sat next to me to try and teach me social media. And she actually told me, I don't think you can do this. And that brings me to the next principle, which is having no ego. Learning and having no ego goes hand in hand. When a 24-year-old who could, have passed off as, my own daughter tells you, I don't think you can do this. How do you take it? And I told her, no, I will learn it. You teach me. And because of no ego of what my 25 years of the past was, I learned every nuance of how to run an NGO. And in a year, I had brought in about 80 partners on board. We had created a community of about 1,500 women. We had executed in partnership with all these partners who could be NGOs, who could be for-profit entities, industry bodies, 100 plus events. These events could be workshops, skilling, could be just motivational talks. It could be on technology. It could be on entrepreneurship. You name it, it was widespread. And that's the achievement that I had because of the learning, the unlearning and the new learning that I brought in. Going to the next aspect from here is, how do you create opportunities? And this is something that all of us are always looking out for, right? Opportunities for yourselves within the organization, for your team members, for your organization itself, new projects to handle. So when I was heading the Not-for-Profit Foundation, I used to get a lot of invites to conferences, workshops, to give talks. Not because I'm Neeraja, but because I was heading the Not-for-Profit Foundation, the Jobs for Her Foundation. And with every talk, with every conference that I went to and spoke to, people would come back to me and say that what I speak really, really impacted them very positively. There were a lot of takeaways from my talks. And I thought, I must reach out to larger audiences. Now, I can't, be going and giving talks on a daily basis. Nobody's inviting me to a conference every day, and that's not my day job. So I thought the best way would be to start writing. That way, you could share it via other, blog sites or maybe on LinkedIn and the platforms, and more people would read it. With that, I started writing. And that's how the Women's Web thing came by, because there was a competition on Women's Web where they had asked us to write something on women and guilt. Okay, so I wrote an article called as Letting Go is the Most Difficult Asana for Women, right? And it actually won a prize. And they called me and they asked me if I would do a book review of Apurva Purohit's book, Lady, You're the Boss. Apurva Purohit is the president of the Jagaran Group. She has been named as one of the top 50 most powerful women in our country for the third time this year. And she's the author of 2 books. Now, I'm not an author, I'm not a book reviewer, but they asked me to do the book review. And I said, okay, let me do it. It was an awesome read. But what it also enabled me was to connect with Apurva herself. And I then invited her to come over to one of the women's networks that I was part of to give a talk. And that's how I built the relationship with her and I became part of her network. And slowly these writing opportunities took me on to do many more things. So the message that I always tell people is treat every interaction as an opportunity, especially for women who say there aren't too many opportunities for us. Opportunities are taken away by the men. I say one is go grab those opportunities. Two is create those opportunities for yourselves. The next thing that I want to talk about is the impact that you wish to create. While I did want to create an impact in the gender space, and which is why I went on to head the Jobs for Her Foundation and did whatever I was doing there, I realized that I wanted to catch these people young. Why should somebody get into a job, work for 5 years and 10 years, and then realize that they've lost, the bus that they had to be on, or, they should have learned all of this much before. So let me catch them young. Let me do something in the student space. And with that in mind, I came out of the foundation. I still continue to be, associated with them as a freelance consultant. If ever they want something, I do, go do work for them. But I want to do something in the student space. And that's how I have my current job, the day job, which is at National College. And I will talk to you an interesting story of how I landed that job. But I'm also doing mentoring for young girls in the age group of 18 to 25 through a platform called Aspire for Her. I'm working with underprivileged girls between 8th to 12th standard who have absolutely no hope in their life through a foundation called as Hope Works Foundation to ensure that they also dream, aspire, and reach their dreams. So please ensure that you're very, very clear about what is the impact that you want to create with the work that you do and the life that you are living. So coming back to the story of how did I land my job at National College, I really give a lot of emphasis on creating a network within the organization, outside the organization, with known and unknown people. And usually people get the definition of networking very, very wrong. My definition of networking is, how can you be of help to another person? The minute you think of networking as that, can I be useful to somebody else? Networking becomes so very easy. People usually say, oh, it's networking means I have to go and ask them for help, for a favor. No, that's very wrong notion. So I'm part of so many other WhatsApp groups because of this large network that I am part of. And on one of those WhatsApp groups, I got this message last year saying that National College in Bangalore has started 3 new courses. One is a BCA in data science, one is a BCA in IoT, and the third is a BSc in biomedical electronics. And there was a name of the person who was behind, starting these courses. And this message really made me very curious because these are upcoming fields and you don't have, these courses being given out at an undergrad level, at a BSc, BCA kind of a setup. You may be having it in the engineering colleges of our country today. So I am an alumni of National College. And the second reason is that my daughter is looking to pursue data science. So with both of these, I found this person whose name was there in the WhatsApp message on LinkedIn. And I connected with him and I said, I would like to come and meet you. And he gave me, time, and I went and met him at college. And I told him, see, I am available and I have a large network and I know you have these 3 new courses. If you need any help that I could do for you to kind of, take these courses forward, you need some industry experts to come and either teach your faculty or teach the students, bring in live projects, I'm happy to help out. And that conversation turned out to be actually something that created a role for me in the college. He went and spoke to the management and said, there's this lady, and I think she can help the entire institution, not only these 3 courses, and the role of the current role, which is director relationships, which is to build the industry academia connect for the college, was created for me. And I have that opportunity available today for me, through which I can create the desired impact that I want to. So never ever underestimate networking, and get networking right, which is to help others. And the final thing that I would say is always work on your personal brand, because that is what is going to take you far. As an example, I'm standing here today talking to all of you. How did I get this opportunity to speak? In the last 6 months, 7 months since the pandemic, I've given at least 50 talks at a variety of conferences. People have asked me to do video interviews, podcasts, and stuff like that. None of these people are known to me. I have not sought out any of these opportunities. It's purely come out of the network and the personal brand that I have, because of which people reach out. Either there's a reference, a recommendation, or people directly reach out to me over LinkedIn and say, will you please come and address our audience? In closing, I will only say, follow your passion. As Steve Jobs said, you have to be burning with an idea or a problem or a wrong that you want to right. If you're not passionate enough from the start, you will never stick it out. So follow your passion if you wish to craft your life. And I really look forward to hearing your stories in terms of how you have crafted your life, your careers, your leadership, your projects in such a way that you have been able to create an impact and lead a successful and satisfactory life. Would love to remain connected with you on LinkedIn. Please do message me saying that you heard me at the PMI conference, and we can stay connected. Thank you.